1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move, whatever click you choose.
My first encounter with gang life, I was a victim. I think I was 10, and I was a victim of some guys in the gang who lived down the street. Older guys, older than myself. I was 10, they had to be like 12 maybe. Took my money, busted my lip. And I knew that they had the power then, that alluring power, right? And in that particular area, on that particular street, everybody was the gang member. Everybody clicked around the gang. The gang gravitated at center earth. Nothing was important outside of that. So to be a part of that was to be in. And then you had the power. And then you weren't a victim no more.
The Crips were like coming along, but it wasn't the shooting and all of that. It was just the fighting and what have you. So he thought that he wanted to be a Crip, and I promised him if so, I'd break both of his legs and he could easily be one.
She was upset. She didn't believe it. She didn't think it could happen to her children, not Kody and Sean. And she didn't take it serious for years, until she really started seeing us being gunned at, us pulling guns around the house, the gang graffiti in the room. The room had been transformed into a military launch site, and people coming over with a particular dress, a particular attitude, a particular talk.
I knew that it was a dangerous situation because I read the paper every morning. I look at the news. And it was happening to other mothers' sons, you know. They were dying and being shot up.
And like she said initially, you know, before all the fighting, or before all the shooting and stuff like that happens, I don't think that people, you know, parents envision their sons and their children going down that path. I think as a parent, you know, we always, most of us have that feeling that it's not my son, it's not my child. And if my child is hanging in a group that's doing bad things, the group is influencing my child, when often the child may be influenced in the group, but the parents' belief in their child to be different sometimes blocks them from reality.
Some in wheelchairs. You know, I never wanted anything to ever happen to my children.
A friend of mine, Trayvon, and I were robbing this man, and the man hit me in the face and ran, and Trayvon held him for me. And I stomped him like for 20 minutes and really disfigured his face, stomped rocks into his face, and the man lapsed into a coma. And the police said that, came back and told the civilians when they were trying to figure out for witnesses, whoever did this to this particular person has to be a monster. And then, so when I came around at night, people were saying, man, they called you a monster, man. They were calling you a monster. They said, man, you was this and you was that. And I was going, damn, monster. Unique name, you know?
As one police officer asked, why did I allow my sons to join a gang? And I said, sir, begging your pardon, it's nothing that I allowed.
And I think I just commented that on a video a couple of days ago. You know, a lot of times in front of our parents, we act one way. You know, they see us as one way. And then once we step out that door and get around the corner, we become completely different individuals. So it's nothing that the parents is allowing. We are doing things behind their back when they're letting us outside to go be regular 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds or whatever it is. And by the time they do realize, it's often too late, because now we're full-fledged gang members and we have adapted these beliefs and these principles wholeheartedly.
Said, you know, all the time when your black man leave your black woman, you don't always take care of your black babies. I'm taking care of these black babies. I have to. So it's nothing that I allowed. I couldn't sit here and hold their hand 24 hours a day. We would sure enough get sick of each other.
I feel very, very bad about her now that I think about it, because you have to understand the mindset of a gang member. Nothing outside of the gang is important. The gang is your religion, the gang is your corporation, the gang is your college, the gang is everything that any civilian holds dear. The gang is all that. It's your family, it's everything. So nothing outside of that exists.
I don't think that young people have a conscience. I really don't. I don't even think that they know what it is. Because they can laugh and they can talk about the things. They can discuss them like it really meant nothing. I just did it. It had to be done, you know.
I get home from camp on October 10th, 1979, and he says, we're coming to the garage, I want to show you something. Takes me in the garage, and he has all these shotguns laid out on the blanket, 13 shotguns. I think like 7 maybe are sawed off. And all these shotguns that came out of everybody's house on the block. And he broke in everybody's house on the block and told us shotguns. And he told me, well, you know, I'm a little monster now, matter of factly. And I said, well, hell, you can be who the hell you want to be with all these damn guns. And but he said it proudly, and it really hit me in the heart that, you know, damn, you know, little monster, you know.
And I said, guys, look, let's be serious now. If you're doing these terrible things, when you close your eyes at night, you have got to see something. You have got to go back over whatever it is that you've done that day. You got to see some of it. It's got to bother you. Oh, Kody'S, oh, Bert, get out of here. So that's the end of that conversation with the conscience situation, because they don't even want to discuss it. So I said, well, maybe they do have one. They don't want to discuss it. So it's there.
And it was.
I know that when I was out running around doing stuff, none of that stuff seemed to bother me. But later on, as I got to prison, after a period of time, I would have these crazy dreams. I would be involved in these shootouts with some individuals who I ended up going to prison for being convicted of, you know, shootings and things of that nature, right? And at times I would see their face. Their family members would be chasing me through the mall. I'd be having shootouts with them and running and stuff. And these dreams, I used to have these dreams often, you know, it seemed like every, you know, couple of months and stuff. For a long period of time, these dreams, you know, would come to me and stuff. And so I think that was just, you know, my conscience basically telling me that type of stuff really didn't agree with my spirit, right?
It was strange and kind of emotional to see him go through that phase. And I didn't want him to come, but I wanted him to come because I loved him. And this to me was my world. This to me was reality, gang activity. So I wanted him to be a part of reality, but I didn't want him to lose that specialness that made him himself, which was just my little brother. But to everybody else, he was a little monster, but he was always my little brother, you know? And so by him transforming from civilian to gang member, he lost a great part of his life. But he also gained a great part.
You know, sometimes you do things that may be against your better judgment. Even something as simple as stopping for a burger can turn into a gun battle.
There's been a lot of tragedies on this corner, many days, especially in the 80s. Plenty of people up here got hurt. I'm one of them had to learn the hard way.
Looking for something to get into, just like the next person. Looking for opportunity to make some money if they hustlers. Jack somebody for their hoop. or just stick a motherfucker up.
That shit pissed me off. When I see one of my enemies, I can't get their motherfucking ass. I know if they see me, they for sure try to peel my cab. There ain't no doubt about that. Catch the light, Jack. I mean, stop right here. You should have stopped. Man, there goes some right there. Like 4 of them in one car. Damn.
Whenever I go into a spot, I'm checking all exits first. Got to be more than one exit. Got to be somewhere where I can watch my back. Got to be able to get up out of there. Yeah. I wonder where them cats from.
See, we no longer need to identify another member by the color he has on, because baseball caps play such a big role. We have the T for Texas Rangers, which stands for Trey. We have the G for Georgetown, which stands for Gangster. ETG, A-Trey Gangster. His hat's gonna tell me the story. You know, sometimes you do things that may be against your better judgment. Even something as simple as stopping for a bird can turn into a gun battle.
Those not familiar with the California gang culture, LA gang culture, you may have not even understand the deepness of what he mentioned when he was speaking on wearing baseball caps. Some of these baseball caps can literally get you killed. You know, at times some of these baseball caps are a dead giveaway to what gang you represent. And there are so many different baseball caps now that are affiliated with gangs and dudes being from certain hoods and territories by the letter or the symbol that's on the cap, right? This reminds me of a time probably back in about 87, 88. You had some dudes from A-Trey had moved down to Bandit. And my homie, he had on a baseball cap. But a lot of times back then, we would just get baseball caps because the color blue, or we liked how they look down in our area, right? And so the homie, he used to kick it with us. You know, he ain't never really represented the hood and stuff, but I mean, we definitely consider him a member because he was there with us all the time. So he has a hat. He has on a hat that's known for the rolling 60s to wear, unbeknownst to us at that time. You know what I'm saying? This is like 87, 88. So we're not familiar really with the Los Angeles gang culture because, once again, there's no YouTube. There's none of that stuff. So he steps outside. Just so happens a dude from A-Trey is coming across from the apartments across from where he stays. He push up on him. And he's like, "Hey, homie, you know, where you from? You from rolling 60s?" And my homie was like, "No, why? What's up?" He's like, "Man, that hat you got on." He said, "We don't like that hat, homie. What we gonna do, we gonna take this." And the dude grabbed the hat, said, "We gonna take you to the store and we gonna buy you another hat, homie. But, you know, this hat right here, you know, this hat is a no-go." Pretty much is basically what I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said, you know. So being in Los Angeles, having on certain hats, it's a dead giveaway. And an individual may not even come up to you and say anything, you know, because especially out there, it's expected you should be aware of what hat you got on your head.
There's been a lot of tragedies on this corner, many days, especially in the 80s. Plenty of people up here got hurt. I'm one of them had to learn the hard way. But I'm lucky I'm still living, you know what I mean? Shit, I was just up here slipping, really. It was some brothers behind the alley was having a gang fight. I was up here ordering. I know shit about it. Got caught up in the middle. They ran around here with a weapon. Of course I broke, you know what I mean? That I had no weapon. They chased me down. One brother was like trying to, you know what I'm saying, get at me for what people do in the streets. We couldn't get on a good understanding. One of his homies standing next to him just pulled a gat out and shot me in the jaw. Hit me right here. My tuck came up through my neck. I tried to run. When I started running, hit my nerve and knocked me out, but I was on my feet, dazed. That's when he shot me in my back. I ran back this way, because after they came through, I ran that way, and they took me back this way. By that time, I already got shot twice. I ran to Florence and just said, fuck it. You know what I mean? I thought I was gonna die. You know what I mean? But you would think you was gonna die too if blood was shooting out the both sides of your face.
When I came through here and I was walking, I was holding my hand, like that. People in the living, waiting room there started hollering, screaming to somebody help me, somebody help me.
Neck wounds are very, very serious. All his wounds were very serious, frankly. He's had a collapsed lung. A lot of gang members do die here in the AR. Unfortunately, you see not only for the individual person, but of course their families. And for what it can be said, their fellow gang members really care about them too. And there's a lot of pain and hurt and rage. It takes its toll on everyone, even us here in the emergency room. We're just fortunate we just keep functioning because we have a job to do. But at the end of the day, your thoughts go back to what happened over the previous 12 hours.
That reminds me real quick when she was talking about this, a lot of pain and rage, right? And I'm gonna tell a quick story about two of my homies. They're brothers, and unfortunately, they both are no longer living, man. So rest in peace to my homie Reese and my homie, which is his brother, Jay Trey. So they out in the hood one day, and a car comes through. They out there serving, doing what they do, and the dude in the car starts tripping for whatever reason. So Reese is on one side of the car, and my other homie is on the other side of the car. So when the dude starts tripping and I think the dude tried to buy some narcotics and pull off. Because I wasn't there, the story was relayed to me later on. And so the homie on the other side of the car, my homie Reese, was making a hand-to-hand transaction with the dude. My homie on the other side of the car, when the dude tried to slap the product out of his hand and drive off, my homie started busting. He started popping, and the bullet hit the homie Reese in the leg. So they end up taking Reese to the hospital. The homie Jay Trey, which is Reese's brother, he finds out that his brother has been shot. He doesn't know that the homie shot him on accident, and so he comes up there, of course, to the hospital. He heard my brother got shot. He come up to the hospital. He's furious. He's crying. He's all upset. He's asking him, man, who shot my brother? He's in the hospital screaming and hollering. And so then later on, when the homies got to wherever they was going, they told him who shot him. It was an accident or whatever. But my homie Reese, the dude who got shot, he was even clowning and laughing at his own brother later on. He was like, oh yeah, Johnny was up in there crying and all that old type of stuff, So, I mean, it wasn't funny at the time, but it was funny later, because even when somebody gets shot and your brother is right there, reacting hysterical and emotional and concerned, the homie, his younger brother, saw that as later on, this dude is being soft. You in there crying, stop crying, and so on and so forth. So it's just, the gang mentality sometimes is a trip. But let's get into now the story of Retribution, when Monster Kody talks about being shot and his little brother put some work in.
Kody got shot on a New Year's Eve. It came to me in a dream the night before. And I got up that morning and I was just almost hysterical. So I said, Kody, look, let's talk. I've got to talk with you. So he said, oh, Bert, it's just a dream. So I stayed home all that day, New Year's Eve. And if I moved, I grabbed his hand. Because you could wink your eye and he would disappear. It was like he was an apparition or something, So this was going on, and usually a friend of mine, we would drink champagne on New Year's Eve at the Eat Shop where I used to work. And Kody say, Bert, look, you've worn me out. I'm not going to go anyplace. I said, Kody, if you leave home today, you're going to either be shot up real bad or you're going to die.
And that's just a trip, right? That reminds me real quick of another story I have, man. My homie's grandmother, and sometimes family members, they get these premonitions. My homie's grandmother told all her grandchildren about 3 or 4 days. She said, I had a dream and death is in the family. Death is coming. All y'all be careful. Talking to her grandsons who was of age to be out there in the street. And maybe about 2 or 3 days later, my homie Roni got stabbed by a woman, and he died, right? And so it's just crazy how sometimes some of these family members, they'll get this strong sense of death, and it comes true.
So finally, I did leave, and I went to the eat shop, and Kody did leave too.
One guy got a beard, a mustache, one guy got a beard, and one guy's clean shaven. But they're not dressed like gang members. I don't see no bulges where they might be armed. So the guy walks up to me and he says, "Aren't you Monsta Kody?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm Monsta Kody. I'm from A-Trade Gangster. What's up?" And the guy reaches in his coat. He has a pea coat, but he can't get through the gun apparently because it's the button. And when he reaches in his coat, Lil Hunchy runs and leaves me. When I look towards Lil Hunchy to the left and look back, the guy shoots me in the stomach. Shoots me in the stomach, point blank range, no closer than you and I are, and blows me against the wall. And the impact of the bullet, it doesn't really hurt me, but it surprises me. And the force of it blows me against the wall. And just out of survival, out of the instinct, I rush towards him, try to grab the gun, and he shoots me in the left hand. And my hand hits the wall like it's blown off, where I don't look at my hand. So now I know it's time to go. I turn around and try to run, and he shoots me in the back. The bullet that hits me in the back knocks me down on my face, and I'm dazed. So now I'm getting up on my knees, and the guy kicks me in the stomach, kicks me over. So I have no alternative but to put my leg up, just try to shield a shot. And he shoots me 3 times in the left leg, and then they run off. Well, Lil Hunchy, he ran the entire block, and he comes back, and he asks me, "What happened?" "Well, damn fool, I'm shot. That's what happened."
The manager came, Maurice came, and he said, "Babes, I think you'd better come to the phone. Everybody's screaming and crying. Something is wrong at your house." I said, "Know what it is. My child has been shot." And sure enough, he had.
My first thought was is he dead? The only news I got was that he was shot, I immediately raced home, looking for the weapons that I knew we had at home, which was a double-barrel shotgun and a 9mm hand weapon. Neither was there.
I went to the hospital. It was horrible because I saw so much while I was there. Other mothers there with their kids coming in, cut up and bleeding. It was horrible. Oh. A lot of people were wondering why I was not screaming and hollering, but I had experienced this. I had gone through this in my dream. I'd had it, But I touched him, and I knew he was going to be all right.
And real quick, man, for all the gang members and stuff out there, I think that's one thing that we do not consider or realize whatsoever. The pain we put our loved ones through when we're out there in the street and something happens to us. We just don't understand, the horror and the agony they go through. And even though we're out there and the decision is 100% us, our parents and loved ones always feel that somehow they failed us and let us down. I'm gonna do an interview with my mom soon, and I'm gonna let her talk about the experiences of me growing up. And it was a lot of stuff, right? And a lot of times I'd be out there and shootings would jump off. I'd call my mom and ask her, "Hey mom, what's going on the scanner?" My brother had a police scanner at the house. He wanted to be a police explorer. That's another story. And eventually over time, my mom realized that, I was involved in a lot of these shootings, because every time there would be a shooting, I'd call and ask her what's going on. But we just don't, we don't realize the pain and stuff we put our parents through.
He knew he was going to be all right. The doctors weren't sure, but we were.
I felt the loss that I might lose my brother. I felt empty. As the night progressed along, I think I was overcome with revenge than anything.
New Year's morning, I was in my bathroom and I heard all of these voices outside the window, and I looked out. There were young ladies out there too. They were ready to go and blow this house up.
Now, once again, those of you guys who may not be familiar with Monster Kody, he details this information in his book, right? At the time of his shooting, he was a well-loved, well-known individual from his hood. So, you know, a lot of times when people from certain gangs get shot, their homies are ready to ride. But it's even a higher scale when you are a well-loved, well-respected individual, respected because of your street deeds. When something happens to you, the response is even bigger. And so often it's, you know, it's a pandemonium type event.
So I went out there and I explained to them to the best of my ability that what they were doing, what they had in mind was very definitely wrong.
We had a meeting at the park that day to discuss what had happened, who was there, who was the trigger man, and what should be done.
Sean was so hurt. I had not seen my little guy cry like that in a long time. And it was just so much love there, but yet there was so much hate there. There was hate toward the people that had done this to Kody. It was to the point where it was almost frightening, because his whole expression changed. It looked like his color even changed. But I guess when you're angry, and angry like that, everything changes.
Once the sun went down, the mission was in action. We had the 2 shotguns that I had, which was a double barrel, which I had, the 20 gauge pump, a 12 gauge pump, a 8mm rifle, and 2 .357 Python hand weapons.
Back in those days in the 80s, rifles and shotguns especially were the weapon of choice. I remember a time a friend of mine went some stuff had jumped off in the hood. One of my older homies, he went to my uncle's house. My uncle was the gun man, and he went and got a gun, one of my uncle's guns, and for whatever reason they sawed it off. They sawed the gun off. They was planning on putting some work in. They never did. They brought the gun back and had sawed it off. And my uncle Dre, rest in peace. Oh, he was mad. He was mad as hell that they had, you know, sawed his gun, turned it into a sawed off. It was a double barrel. But yeah, back in those days, those shotguns and gauges and stuff, that was the weapon of choice a lot of times.
And we started on our journey in the enemy territory. We combed each block, looking for any sign of movement. They knew retaliation would be swift. But with it being a holiday, January 1st, 1981, we knew that we would eventually catch somebody out. When we did, we ate him up.
I was very hurt. I was very hurt. I was hurt for the mother that child belonged to. I knew how she felt because I knew how I felt.
I hung out the window first. They were standing on the sidewalk. I gave them both barrels of a 12 gauge shotgun that was not sawed off. That was the person that died. The pictures that I was showed while I was going to court on it, I couldn't believe that a shotgun could actually do a person like that. It made me respect the shotgun even more. This person had no stomach anymore. It had been blown completely away.
I know some of y'all might think I'm interrupting a whole lot, but fuck it, this is my reaction. And when I was about 7 or 8, my father got shot with a shotgun from close range, and he was intensive care, and he wasn't expected to live. And my father has never been a religious man, and he went through a religious experience. He didn't get out and start going to church, but he went through a religious experience. Said he saw the face of God and beautiful lights he couldn't describe, and people who had passed away before him. And there was a man by the name of Mr. Benson who had been shot and killed a few years before. He said he saw Mr. Benson, and he said to my father, "Boy, what you done got yourself into now." My dad was always involved in a lot of stuff out there. My mom tells me that I'm a lot like him in my attitude. But anyway, I say this to say my father had a big old giant hole in his stomach. He has a bit of a pot belly, and he lost a bunch of weight, but he always had those two big giant holes in his stomach. So those gauges, yeah, they're no joke.
What had been the torso, the midsection of the body, was no more. It didn't look like anything human.
You can't solve anything by just going out and doing the same thing that has been done to you.
It wasn't necessarily the person that I murdered wasn't necessarily the person that actually pulled the trigger on my brother, but he was affiliated with that neighborhood, and that's just like getting the trigger man himself. When you live in my world, retaliation has to be swift. As long as it's swift, it will make people respect your neighborhood and think twice about coming over there.
I knew that he was capable of doing that, but I didn't think to the extent that he would go to that extent. And he really surprised me, which would just overwhelming. I felt proud. I felt proud that he was able to rise above the emotionalism of his brother being shot and take care of business.
We did several other drive-bys at night on 3 different neighborhoods, all enemies to my own neighborhood, because I was not satisfied with just getting that one neighborhood. I wanted to let all the neighborhoods know, affiliated with that one, that retaliation is swift.
And then I wasn't as I am now, so I didn't care about the victims. It was just them and us. It was war, and I didn't care. But I was really proud of him.
We were in a trans band, and I was sitting shotgun, with a double barrel between my legs. I remember driving down the street and seeing these guys in the street, sitting on a parked car. I looked at their faces, knew it was them. We then prepared, everybody loaded up, we rounded the corner again. Upon the second time of coming by, I hung out the window and said, "Hey, motherfucker." And when he turned around, I hit him with both barrels. Hit him in the neck. Just barely hit him in the neck, though. I didn't give him, he didn't feel the brunt of both barrels like he should have, because he lived. After my initial 2 shots in a double barrel, that was it. I would sit back then and let everybody else do their thing. I can remember hitting the corner and looking back and seeing all 5 people stretched out. And I knew the job had been well done. At which point, I went over to my girlfriend's house and sat back and caught the 11 o'clock news.
That just brings to mind something real quick, right? I know a lot of times in some situations, you will hear gang members from the same hood, right? And I've seen this. I've seen dudes in prison actually talk about this and stuff. One gang member will get caught for something he really did not do, had no involvement with, a murder or something. And some of these gang members, of course, they're from that hood, so they know who did it. And so sometimes they'll either call on the phone or they'll send word to that dude, "Hey man, tell a homie, PJ to come down here and turn himself in for this murder. They got me locked up for a murder he did." Now, both of these individuals is representing the same gang. Ain't no turning myself in. If they got you locked up for a murder that you didn't do, figure it out, homie. That's part of being part of a gang. We all are representing a collective. You see, he talked about he drove past and he shot somebody, and it wasn't the individual that shot his brother, but it was just as good. So here's this dude hanging out, and he gets shot for something he didn't have nothing to do with. So if you're the person who made these individuals come over here and shoot the hood up, now that this dude has lost his life for something that you did, are you gonna hop in the grave and take this dude's place? If you can't, and you're not gonna do that, then you can't expect for somebody to come down there and turn theyself in for a murder they got you charged with. It all comes with the territory. So when you start gang banging, if you can't accept the good and the bad, you shouldn't be down there, right? You shouldn't be gang banging. But to me, it's just ridiculous when I hear individuals who will have the audacity to talk about the homie should come turn himself in. They got me in here for something that he did. It's all relative. It all comes with the territory.
When Sean looked at me in the hospital and he was crying, and he wanted to tell me so bad, I could see it in his eyes, to communicate on that emotional level, man, like, damn, you know what I mean? I love you, bro. You know, and we couldn't, because we had that image, that mask. We had to be monsters, you know what I mean?
I've cried from happiness with them, cried out of anger with them. I cried whenever they were sick. I hurt for them. Whew.
And so, yeah, that's all right. And I'm gonna wrap it up here. But before I go, I'm gonna say I really like their mother, right? Just her aura, her expression, the way she articulates herself. Something about her just reminds me of Maya Angelou. You know, to me, she's very distinguished, very elegant, right? And once again, you know, we never realize the amount of hurt and anguish and pain we put on those parents of ours, our loved ones, you know, when we get caught up in these situations, whether we're the victim or the individual that goes to jail. But anyway, you already know what time it is. It's your boy 16 of Life. Resume normal program.